That's so funny.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. Today I have Amy. You may know Amy Duggar King from the hit TLC show 19 Kids and Counting. She is a wife and a mom breaking the chains and cycles of abuse so that her son Dax can have a better future. Amy, I'm so glad you're here.
I am so excited to be here, Laura. I think we're going to have a great conversation.
I think so. I mean, we have so much to talk about. I mean, your book was like such good information. I devoured it. Like if you guys haven't, I've already, told people like go read this book because it's just so good. You're so real in it and you just came out and just shared everything and I just really love it. I love to see cycle breakers breaking the cycle, breaking those chains so that
Yes.
our kids and now for me, a grandkid doesn't have to go through it. And that's why we do it, right?
That's why we do it. Yeah, we do it not just for our sanity, but for generations, after us. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
there's power in stepping away and choosing a better life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's tons of things we can talk about, tons of things from your book. And I want to know, like, tell me what was the catalyst that for you said, that's it. I just got to talk about it. I just have to talk about it. I can't just step away. I have to actually talk about this. Tell me what was the catalyst for that?
I think so many people just saw the shiny facade that was on TV
Yeah.
and they just assumed that, what's on TV is real. And then just the whole family dynamic, as soon as
Mhm.
it twisted, honestly, as soon as my grandma passed away, things took such a turn, such a turn.
Okay.
And it was
In
really
your family or
in
with
our
you?
family. Yeah,
Okay.
just like how we were treated, how we were not invited to things.
Okay.
Grandma was always like the cheerleader who always like kind of like glued us together.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, now everybody come together. And then I think when she passed, we didn't have that bridge anymore.
Yeah.
And so I just started to see like this this is not healthy, this isn't godly, this is not like
Right.
is very controlling behavior. And so many people get tripped up in just thinking family is forever.
Yep.
And so yeah, I was just like I'm so done. And so if anyone has followed me for a while, I've always been the outspoken one.
Yes.
And now, that I've gotten the healing that I needed, I was like, this could help someone out
I
there,
love
just
that.
one person. And I've been blown away by the response of it all.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that. I mean, I felt the same way. It's like as soon as I started healing, I'm like, there's other people who feel like me. There's gotta
Yeah.
be. I felt so
Well,
much shame in whatever was going on with me, like ashamed for being abused. Like, no, like
yeah.
why, and like Giselle Pellico, that beautiful woman from France who suffered her own abuse, said shame has to switch sides. And I so believe that. It's like, why are we ashamed? And so,
Right.
when we speak out, and you must know this too, when we speak out, shame is broken. When we bring
It
it to the
is.
light, shame is broken.
I
And
was
that's,
gonna say that.
yeah,
It's so true because you can't only live in shame for so long. And then as soon as like you turn the light on, you're like, it wasn't my fault. Like I
yeah,
didn't do anything to deserve
right,
this. And
right.
so yeah, I lived that way. I actually did not think that one person was going to connect with my story. I
Oh,
literally even
wow.
told my editor that before when I was writing. I was like, hey,
Yeah,
listen, I don't know if anyone is going to connect with what I've gone through. And
yeah.
she was like, you just wait. You just wait.
Mhm,
And so,
mhm.
yeah, they make you feel like you're on like a lone island. And
I was going to say you were made to feel that way because I totally understand that. And also, we didn't have to be on TV. We didn't have to be
no,
in the cult. We didn't have to do any of those things to understand your story because we've all had some version of it. We understand what broken homes look like. Broken homes. I don't like that word. So, we understand what having divorced families or how your parents weren't married for a long time and it was abusive and all that. And then or did both of them come from abuse? I know
yeah,
yeah. Okay. So, having that as like the cycle in the family, like, oh my gosh, so many of us can relate to that.
yeah.
And so that's why your story, I think, resonates. We didn't have to resonate with the TV stuff.
No,
You just
I
happened to
didn't
be
I
there.
didn't want that to be the main goal of the book of like here's
Right.
TV world. That was just like a little like a little bit of it.
Yeah,
That was part of it, but that's not the entire story.
of
Um,
course. Yeah,
and so yeah, it's centered around narcissistic abuse from all sides. Um,
exactly. Yes.
so yeah, I would rather talk to you and and someone who's actually read the book, who understands, who's been
Yeah.
through than someone who has a million different followers but never actually read the book and has me on their
Right.
podcast.
Right.
Because I
Exactly.
feel like the people that are watching and listening to this,
Yeah.
they can really get something out of it. So I just want to say thank you so much for
You're
having me on your
welcome.
podcast.
You are so welcome. I mean, I just loved your book because it was so real. Like I said, it was just so real. It encouraged me. And let me tell you, no matter how many people I meet, every time I hear another story, I see someone like you that you didn't have to share your story. I'm just going to cry about it, but you didn't have to share your story. But thank you for sharing your story because I know. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm
okay.
just really grateful. I have a soft heart and I'm okay with it. I,
That
I'm,
makes you
s-
a really good person, a
I
good
try.
heart, a good genuine heart. Yeah, no, it's
I
wonderful.
love it when people share their story. Anytime even in my DMs, when somebody says, thank you for sharing your story, I'm like, this is why I do what I do because let me know if this ever happened to you and possibly it did. It's like I was told, don't talk about this. Don't call it abuse. This is your family, this is your husband or your ex-husband. Don't talk about it. Don't call it that and just forgive and move on.
Oh,
And
I've heard
I
that
was
so many times.
it's to me it's invalidating and toxic. And I come from an evangelical Christian background. And so I wanted to be the good girl and just forgive and move on. And I
Mhm.
couldn't. It kept bubbling up. I'm like, I have to tell people
I
what
have to
happened.
say, yeah, no, I think that's just also a part of like the healing journey is just speaking it into existence,
Yeah.
or writing it into a book. Like
Hmm.
any of that is just like this actually happened. And so when people actually believe our story
Yeah.
and believe what we have to say, I think it heals a little bit of part of us that we didn't know needed a little bit of healing,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think it kind of mends it, the little pieces a little closer together. And
Yes,
so
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, I will always talk about it because there's so many families that are not just broken but toxic, and there's so many different
Yeah.
cycles, and people just continue. It's like a Ferris wheel. People just continue on it,
I
and you
know. And I've said,
don't
it's like,
have
we
to.
don't have to. Right.
You
We
don't
don't
have
have
to.
to. And it's just because it's your family. And that was a really hard concept for me to really understand. Also, friendships. It was hard for me. But as I started learning healthy boundaries, that's like there's some people who will just leave your life anyway because like, oh,
Right,
she has boundaries. Like, oh,
right.
Amy's
Yeah,
over there having boundaries now. Like, I don't like that.
yeah.
And that was very much for me. Like all of a sudden there were certain people who weren't around and I could tell it's like, oh yeah, you liked the unhealed version of
You
me
like
because
the unhealed version.
yeah,
Yep.
because you benefited from me being a doormat and I didn't want to be that way anymore. And thank God for people who walked into my life and also were already there and just like were amplified. So
It's
I'm
amazing.
sure you had that too. So I'm curious to know, like, of your family, you don't have to name names. Do you have contact with anybody in your family? I know you spoke about a few in the
Yeah.
book and some, interactions you had, but do you have contact with your family?
So I'll just be honest with you, and I can name names, that's fine. For the most part, no. A lot of them,
Yeah.
I've heard crickets. I've heard
Okay.
nothing from
Okay.
them
Oh,
for a really long time, for years. Um,
yeah.
but Jill and I are very, very
Oh,
close.
nice. Okay.
And she's done healing work as well, and
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
thriving. And she's come from a long line of abuse as well, and
Yeah.
so we just have a lot of heart connections there. So we're very, very close, and our boys play
Okay.
together, and it's
Oh,
wonderful. Yeah.
that's so great. Yeah. And yeah, it is kind of heartbreaking. You know what was interesting to me? So I didn't know how to at the beginning, like with my ex, like, yes, he was a 6-year-old little boy who needed his mommy's love, right? But then, hello, you're a grown-ass man and you
Right.
you
Yeah.
didn't need to abuse people. So I didn't know how to hold both of things until someone said you actually can hold both those things. And so it was interesting to me to hear the story of like your mom and Jim Bob, and also like their abusive upbringing and how controlling it was and all that, and really just so chaotic, and Jim Bob trying to protect your mom and all that, right? um does it surprise you that he became so controlling? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly, yeah, I don't think so. I think it lines
Right,
up with the cards.
exactly, yeah, that's
I
how I
mean, it
felt,
makes
yeah.
sense. It makes sense on why he wanted so much control and why he just wanted like a good life. The IBLP,
Yeah,
the Institute of Basic Life Principles,
yeah,
they promised that if you live a certain way, nothing bad
yes,
is gonna happen. Well,
right,
that sounds wonderful if you're coming from a insane, unhealthy, awful home life.
yes,
And
right,
so I think it really, I honestly, I don't think he started out with bad intentions. I don't
okay,
think that was his mind, processing. I don't think
right,
that he was like, I'm gonna do this. And I don't think he was that trusty or strategic.
yeah,
I think that it just started to like grow.
yeah,
It was out of control.
yeah.
And, in the IBLP, there is no accountability held for the men. And that's with a lot
Okay.
of things. But they don't have to answer anyone. And they can,
Okay.
I said in the intro part of it, but they can literally make rules for their household and whatever they are.
Yeah.
Whatever they are. And no one questions them. No one asks them anything
Yeah.
because they are the supreme leader.
Right. And
So, I mean, it makes sense that it it became what it was.
yeah, and to me when I was reading, I'm like, ah, that makes so much sense. And we see that, as we're doing healing work, we'll see that, right? The people who are like so controlling, and maybe the background, if you were like with an abuser or something, you're like, oh, okay. Because like the minute I
Yeah.
started to understand my ex's mom, I was like, oh, I see. But
Yeah.
let's also, hello, therapy is available to anyone who would like it.
Oh my gosh, I know. I feel like especially my generation, I feel like people are waking up and
Yes.
they're like, okay, like I don't like the way that I was raised. I don't like, or you can take some pieces that, you did like
Yeah.
and kind of change it up, but you've
Mhm.
got to get that healing first before you can do that. But just that's a
Yeah.
whole other side side
It
talk.
is. It is. Well, we'll touch on it a little bit because
So
I
many
told,
ways we could go.
oh my gosh, so many ways. And then, so with with your grandfather, then, and I know you said in the book, like you were like, you weren't supposed to be alone with him. Like you kind of just
Right.
knew that, right? It's
Hmm.
so disturbing. Did you ever talk to like even your mom later on or anything, to anybody later on, or even any of the other kids? Like, did you ever have any
Oh,
of those conversations?
no, actually, Jill, when she read my book, we did like a live. And so I asked her, I said, did you learn anything? And she's like, Amy, I had questions. I always wondered certain things, but I finally got the answers that I always wanted from your book that my
Oh,
dad and my mom had never shared with me. So
wow.
I love the fact that I opened up her eyes, to the truth.
Yeah,
And no, I didn't. I just accepted what was taught to me.
right.
And I never wanted to come across as like a rebellious girl, or same with you. I came from an evangelical family as well.
Yeah.
And for me, like, if I was to ask questions, it's a heart issue. I was considered someone with like that I needed to talk to Jesus more, that I wasn't
Yes.
on a good Christian level. And
Right.
so I was like, okay, I'm not going to ask questions. That's just my reality. That's just the truth. Because
Hmm.
I just believed every adult in
Right.
my life
Uh-huh.
would tell me the truth and loves me unconditionally.
Right.
And I never have to question it.
Right.
Like,
Well, but that's how we're societalized. That's
dear
how we're
Lord.
taught. I mean,
Oh, so
listen, I,
true.
I talked on a podcast, a friend of mine and I, that her podcast, when we talked about the church we were in that was borderline culty, and
Mhm.
it's that whole thing. It's like, why are you being so difficult? Asking
Oh yeah.
questions and thinking a different way, or trying to say like, well, but I don't think that that's right. Maybe we should do
Right.
it this way. Oh no,
Yeah. No, reasoning and logic are like not allowed.
no,
They're not allowed. They're
just
like,
follow the rules. Just
yes.
follow the
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know it's about control when we get into high control religion, right? So, and to me, it's sad because to me that's spoiled. It's like, why are we being religious when we
Right.
were supposed to be having a relationship? You know what I
Oh,
mean? To me,
great.
it
Reach.
yeah,
I no, I have said this so many times. I cannot stand the people that hide behind the cross
yeah.
and then act so like just so diabolical, right?
Oh,
Just like
it's
so
yeah.
like I like it's crazy. Like literally the wolf in sheep's clothing, you
It's
know? Like
exactly it. Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
But churches are a place where narcissists can thrive
oh
because
yeah.
I mean, especially if you have one. Well, I was gonna say if you have one that's really led by men, I'm like, hello, that's most.
Hello.
What am I?
No,
What am I
no, but I
saying?
get it. Yeah, no, it's that leadership, right? They've got
Yeah.
all the charm. They
Yes.
know the right words. They look, I mean, they're picture perfect on the
Yeah.
outside. They're suave. They
Yeah.
can, they say all the right words.
And they're using scripture really against you, saying like you need to be submissive
Oh,
rather than, like don't use your brain or don't actually say like, hey, I don't think that's appropriate or whatever. You need to be a better submissive wife, those kinds of things. And even not even just being a submissive wife. My gosh, I heard that all the time when I was starting to, I always say, get kicked out of my church when I was on my way out the door. Well,
yeah.
because Laura was asking too many questions. That was the first
I
thread that
love that.
I know I'm so crazy. So
I love
the first that was the first thread that I pulled in my unraveling
that.
church, trying to understand like, wait, I want to ask questions and I want to, and why are people like it, like top down. This is what we talked about on the podcast, my friend and I, was that they're not all narcissists, but the system makes it so that people have to be a certain way and you become a product of the system that you're in. And so you look like you're a narcissist in a way because you have to, because you, okay, so you know this.
Yeah.
If you don't do what you're supposed to do, you will lose everything around you.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened to
You
you.
will
That's
be abandoned. You will be rejected.
yes. Yeah.
You will have a big X across your face. And it's like they love you from afar. That's what I've heard. That's what I still hear is that they love me from afar. But they can't, obviously, they have to have boundaries up because I've hurt them. And I'm like,
Yes.
no, I've hurt the system.
Right.
I've asked them to think for themselves, and that is cautionary for you. But at the same
Right.
time, that could open up a whole world of them healing, you know?
Well, and that's the thing.
Um,
And so the entire if well, so what did Jill do? Is Jill still in contact with the family?
she is.
Okay, so she's okay, so I'm just
She
maybe
is.
you're
Yeah,
maybe
I
you're
think
hearing things from there. Yeah.
right. Yeah, so she's obviously I don't want to speak for her, but I
No,
will
of
tell you
course.
that
No.
she handles it in a very strategic way.
Okay.
She has her boundaries in place and
Okay.
I can respect. But I also understand that's her brothers and sisters.
Yes,
Those
of course. Yeah,
like that's her entire family, that's her entire world. For
it
me,
is.
I can look on the outside and say, listen, those are my cousins. That was my aunt and uncle, and I am okay and I can be
Yeah.
healthy without jumping back into that.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing is having the boundaries. And I always say I never want to scare anybody, but that was the biggest surprise to me is that the minute I started healing, the way that my entire world started collapsing.
Mhm.
And so I would call I had a coach, a really dear friend who was doing some, really mindset coaching and things with me. And I'd be like, so that's it? I won't have any friends anymore.
Yeah.
This is it.
This is my new
This
life
is it,
all alone.
And she
Yeah.
just I would have to talk me off every ledge. They're coming. They're coming. Hold on. They're coming.
Yeah. The
Because
people that
one,
love you show up for you in
yes,
every way possible. It's
exactly. But
amazing.
it's hard though, right? When you're going through that, were you surprised? Maybe you weren't. Were you surprised when you started pulling away and saying like, no, like I can't do this anymore, that you didn't have contact with anybody anymore? Was that a surprise to you?
No. I mean, I hate to say that, but at
I
the
know.
same time, I understand that they are loyal to the family, and I
Yes.
mean, we've always been taught that family loyalty is everything.
Yeah.
Family is everything. You know those stupid Hobby Lobby signs that say family is forever
Yeah.
and family is number one
I just
and
love
number
it. I just love what you're saying. I just love it.
I go into Hobby Lobby and I'm like, can I sue for this? Like, this is not true. This is propaganda. Okay. Like, not
You need to
everybody has
put sticky
family
notes.
is forever. Like, no, if they're hurting you, if they
Yes.
disrespect you, if they challenge you and like challenge your boundaries
Yeah.
and push you to the extreme and make you feel this big,
Hmm.
that is like not forever. That should not be
That
your
shouldn't be forever.
entire system. It shouldn't be who you like look up to and value their opinions. Um,
So it's so hard. I just think back to like even the beginning of the show when you were given the nickname Crazy. And
yeah,
it's so, and you talked about in the book how you had a conversation with Jim Bob saying, like, can I not have this nickname? I don't like it.
I crazy? Yeah.
Right. And so, and there's a boundary that was like, no, that's just what we're going to do. It's going to be beneficial for the show or whatever. And to me, that just makes me sad because I didn't know any better when I saw it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, she must be crazy. But now we know. And of course, they're going to edit you however they need to edit you,
Of
right?
course. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
think crazy in all kinds of ways. And so
Right.
I was just like, what is going on? Yeah, all of a sudden I have this nickname. I had people either like, oh, we love your personality on the show, or
Yeah.
oh, we're praying for your soul.
Right. Because
And
you're
I'm like,
crazy.
because
Because
I'm
something,
crazy and I wear
right.
jeans and I am a bad example. I'm a bad seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you talked about like certain things and stuff, the colors you would wear and whatever. And we don't need to get into all that. Read the book because it's full of information that you
Yeah.
never would think that you would ever find interesting, like colors of clothing. I thought that was all fascinating. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I love that, but listen, it's even part of the training. You turning down your music when you're coming
Oh,
into the neighborhood, like
yeah.
those kind of, it's such training. And I totally related to all of that. It's like, okay, get it together. Not
Oh,
that you don't want to be who you are, but you also walk that line of being rejected and
yeah. I couldn't be who I actually was.
right.
I couldn't share that I just saw a movie or that I, wear a
Yes.
bathing suit and I tanned outside. Like I couldn't share any of that.
Right.
And I couldn't talk about real life issues, me being in high school and boys and,
Yeah.
whatever. I couldn't share anything. When I went over there, we talked about like the weather. Um,
Yeah. Right.
I very, very, very surface
I
level.
love that you made up stories for them that were actually movie plots. I was like, oh, that's so funny.
I did. They thought I was a great storyteller.
She's amazing, that Amy.
I'm telling you.
I just love that I'm like sneaking it in there. No, I just thought that was so interesting and it cracked me up so much. I'm like,
I'm
well, what
glad.
else?
I'm glad I took you on a ride.
You did. I'm like, well, what else are you gonna do? Because I totally understand, like, when you're in, the cycle of abuse, it's like you do what you need to do to survive. You're in survival mode. You're doing whatever you need to do. You've made these commitments to people, it's your family and all that. And it's hard. You have to make decisions at that time. Like, what am I gonna do? Until you decide, well, I know that it wasn't everybody's choice for the show to end, but until you decide this is it, I have to be done.
Well,
And
listen, when it was built on a lie and there
right.
was scandals hidden and covered up, it was only a matter of time.
Yes.
And to find that out on national television along with the rest of the world
Yeah.
was earth-shattering for me. I
I
can't even
yeah.
describe to you how low I felt. Like I felt like I didn't matter. I was like a chess
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
I felt like just a little pawn on their chess game and
Yeah.
on the board and I didn't matter. Until this day, I still feel that way.
I'm sure. Yeah. I
I
I
do, but I've had to find like well, obviously healing, but I've also had to find my worth, not
Yes.
in just what people think of me,
Yeah.
but just who I am as a person and who God made me to be,
That's exactly it.
you
And
know?
that's the biggest thing is I when I walked out of my marriage and all I ever heard was what a terrible person I was and all that, right? And it was my fault. Everything was my fault. I walked out going, okay, I'm just going to start like working on myself. Like, who does God say I am? What do I think of myself? My gosh, like I need to go heal all of this because I've been told for so many years that I'm a terrible person. And I would think I don't feel like a terrible person, so I don't get it.
Same, same.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, yes, I'm still married. We've been married for 10 years,
Yeah.
so it's hard. Marriage is hard, okay?
It
Marriage
is. It
marriage
is.
takes work. It takes
Hmm.
work. But I will say I have such a good man now,
That's
night and
awesome.
day difference compared to the kind of men that were in my life.
Yes.
And I'm really, really grateful for that. But where was I going with that? I was going
I
somewhere.
I don't know. I'm glad.
I don't know.
I'm
I
glad.
was going somewhere. Thank you. That was not to be like, I have a great marriage. Like I was literally going somewhere with that. And then I
Well, we
don't
were talking
know.
about I was talking about my marriage and that I was told I was terrible and then I went to
Yeah.
heal myself. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, that's what I was going to say is
Okay.
that the same with me. Like, even though I was not in a divorce situation,
Yeah.
I felt like I had to have like daily funerals, in my mind of the people that I was grieving,
Yeah.
and I was grieving a family that I thought I had, and I didn't, and the relationships and all of that, and so and with my dad, that was that's
Yeah.
the
That
hardest
one
ever.
was that was
That
heartbreaking.
yeah
Heartbreaking to read. We'll touch a little bit on it, but and they
yeah
can read the whole
no.
story in the book, but yeah, we'll touch a little bit on it. But tell me, but finish what
Well,
you were
I was just
saying.
gonna say is like once when you get past the like brokenness and you
Yeah.
start to be like, wait a second, like what are these like I literally like typed into Chat GPT like,
Yeah.
hello, help me understand what it means if someone like takes away my roses and gives them to someone else, and like I had no idea what like terms were for the
Yes.
narcissistic abuse that what I've
Right.
been experiencing for years.
Right. Yes,
Had
exactly.
no idea. Had no idea.
Yeah, I remember I heard gaslighting before I got divorced and because I was still delusional at the end, thinking that, if I could I show him my PowerPoint presentation of, okay, this is what you're doing to me. He would go, "Oh, I didn't
Light
realize.
bulb.
So sorry. I will stop doing that immediately." But he knew what he was doing. So
Yeah.
I was telling him, I'm like, I think you're gaslighting me. I started to understand that.
Mhm.
And he gaslit me into believing that he didn't gaslight me. So, so I believed it. And that's the only word I had. That's the only word I had. That's the only information I had. But let me tell you, you know, unfortunately, I called it that your dad wasn't going to show up when you were telling the story. I,
Did you
I
really?
I did because look, he's shown us who he is, right? And if you have this cycle and I know, and it broke my heart. So, the story is you having some reconciliation with your dad and go read the whole story. And then you thought you were getting so close and
I,
him to
I
then,
really did.
yeah. And
Still
then
breaks
for
my
him to,
heart. Oh,
listen,
it,
I understand. And that's the hard part. You're grieving somebody who was alive, right? You're grieving somebody, and that to me is so hard. And also grieving something that maybe wasn't even true, grieving something that could have been. That one
it
right,
could have been. It's
that
the
one kills me. That
it,
one
it,
kills
kill-
me.
it kills me too. I'm right
Yeah.
there with you. Yeah, that was the hardest chapter of
Yeah.
the entire
Oh
book.
yeah, I'm sure.
And just and putting that out there is, man. So just get ready if you write a book or if you ever do a project like that, because it's
Yeah.
gonna hit you in the gut, in the heart so hard.
I didn't even realize that until, I'm like, I sign up with my publisher, she's giving me like deadlines and stuff. And then she's like, wow, you're going to have so much healing. And I was like, excuse me, what? Like, wait, I didn't sign up
Wait,
for that.
I've already done that. Hold on a minute. No, yeah, there's a level of just being so vulnerable with like the world and the people that are going to read your story,
Yeah.
Laura,
Yeah.
that I fell apart. I fell
Yeah.
apart after I
Yeah.
read my my Audible book, my audiobook.
Yeah.
I I my husband was like, love you, go. And I was like, not even talking. And I just like
Yeah.
broke down for hours
Yeah.
because you're grieving everything that's happened to you. And it becomes
That's
so
it.
real because you relive it again and
Yes.
again and again. And every time you talk about it, just like I am right now on this podcast,
Right.
live it. And
Yeah.
it's like I'm getting sweaty, even, having these conversations. But
Yeah.
it's really so healthy to talk about because
Hmm.
someone that's watching this will be
Hmm.
like, wait a second, this may be something that I could, I need to hear this.
Hmm. That's exactly it. And that's what I'm hoping. And I know the right person's going to hear it, because we've all been through something in some form or fashion. It's funny when I'm interviewing people and I sort of like take them back to their childhood to see like the patterns, because that's what happens, right? We have patterns in our life that takes us, like when you were talking about some guy you were dating and, like his lack of anything. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Oh
dodged
yeah.
a bullet. You dodged some bullets. You
I
know what I
did.
mean?
I did.
But we
Definitely.
have patterns that get us there. It's not a wonder you were with somebody like that because you had
Right.
patterns,
That,
right?
yeah, that's all I had around me. So I thought that was love.
Right, exactly. It's like no effort and never showing up and all that. Sure, that's love. Sure, because here's a breadcrumb. And it's like, no,
Right.
we can't. I always tell my listeners, no, we don't live off of breadcrumbs. We'll starve to death.
That's right.
And what I was saying was like, I'll just have them talk about their childhood and they'll be like, oh, well, I had a really great childhood. And they'll start talking. I'll be like, 2 minutes in, I'm like, are you listening?
Are you sure
Dude, are
about
you
that?
sure?
No, it's
Because
hard to connect the dots for some
it's
people.
so normal. Well, it's normal in our
You
head.
normalize it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's normal in our head. We're in survival mode, and
You're
hey, this is what's going on around us. So
right.
everybody must have this, or you're not sure, and we do compartmentalize, and our brain does go into survival mode, and we just like, especially when you're a kid, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do. It's not like
Right.
you can leave
No,
anywhere.
yeah. Yeah,
Right,
I was stuck in it. Yeah, my dad treated my mom awful and my
right.
mom was that's who the person you should really be talking to is my mom. Man, what
Yes.
a survivor. What a survivor. It's all in the book, but
Yeah, I am like, I'm so
crazy.
proud of her for.
Thank
But I
you.
totally understood, because the trauma bond keeps us going back. The trauma
Oh,
bond keeps us. I was like, oh no, don't marry him. But I mean, what can you do? But I mean, and
I know.
you live off of that hope, right? You live off of that hope, and you said that in the book, like, oh, they're going to be married, and it's
Yeah.
my family's going to be whole, and it's like, but we know that doesn't always fix things, and so it broke my heart.
Marriage doesn't fix things at all. I think it exposes more than ever
Yes, for
being
sure.
being in close quarters with someone like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes if the person is abusive, they will use it, as it's like they use it against you, like, oh, now you're tied down and now you can't get out. And that kind of stuff just terrifies me. So, but
Yes.
I was really proud of her for, doing the healing work and being with you guys and all that, and just having a really good, just really having a good home life, because you are breaking the cycle and like giving your child this beautiful home life, and I hope that she's having some healing through that you.
She's definitely getting some healing. We talked about it just the other day. It's like having like a big sister upstairs.
Yes,
She has
yeah,
like area. She has her own living room, her own, all the things.
that's nice.
I told her I was like, we have movie nights. We do the things that we used to do, but
Yeah,
when we used to do that at like let's say when my parents were married, right? And there'd be
yeah,
a movie night, it would be interrupted with like anger or like
yeah,
something breaking or like
yeah.
he could not handle a good night. He
Hmm.
always had to mess it up. He always had to mess up. I mean, all kinds of holidays,
Yeah,
all kinds of everything. That's just what they do. They can't handle like
right.
actually having a good,
Yeah.
peaceful weekend.
Hmm.
And so for now it's I don't know if you can hear, it's peaceful in our
Yeah.
home. It is joyful.
Yeah.
It's safe. It is a safe place. And so I feel like not only is my son getting this like wonderful, amazing, you know, just he's so cared for and so treasured.
That's so
I
wonderful.
could talk about that the whole time if you want.
Yeah.
But I feel like a part of me, my inner child, is healing, and so is my mom's.
I love that. And I was going to say, like, when you're parenting, it's like you do start healing that. And it's like I was a terrible yelly screamy mom, and my kids and I have had
Okay,
a lot of healing. We've had a lot of healing. I was in survival mode, I was in reactive rage, all
of
that.
course.
So I was not
Yes.
supported. So thank God I humbled myself. We have had beautiful healing from both sides because they participated in some gaslighting and all that. We've had great stuff, and to the point where sometimes I think of things and I get a little sad about it, and I'll start to like apologize to my kids, and they'll be like, "Oh no, we're done. We've forgiven you for everything." Like,
Already done this.
yeah,
Yeah.
so go talk to a therapist or just cry about it, but we are okay, and I'm just so thankful for that. And so with my granddaughter now, oh my gosh, I'm a different person. And I'm always like,
I
sorry
love
guys, like sorry that you guys didn't
that.
get this person. But
Yeah,
I know that they're getting healing just watching me, because they even have said,
I love that.
you're a different person. And they mean it in a good way. They're like, you're such a
My
different person.
My mom is the same way with Dax. Like she's
Yeah.
definitely done the healing work and she's the sweetest Nana. And
Yeah.
back then it wasn't that she wasn't sweet because
Right.
she was in survival mode, but she would just shut down. She would just
Right.
completely shut down. And so she wasn't necessarily available. She wasn't really present.
Right.
And now she is so there. She is
Mhm.
like right there. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, it is just so nice having you here and like actually like seeing you, you know?
I know. Isn't that great? And
So
she has a
good.
place to like exhale and just be who she is. When we're in abuse, we really don't know who we are. We don't know who we
No,
are. No, because and especially like even for you, like right, it doesn't look, yes, with the throwing and all that. Yes, of course. But like even when you're at the Duggar house, right? Like it didn't look like necessarily abuse when they're telling you like, why are you wearing that color? And why, oh my gosh, don't go to a movie. That doesn't seem like abuse. That's why I talk about this, because he didn't have to hit me. I wanted to die by the end, but he didn't have to hit me. And so that's why we have to keep talking about this stuff. It's like this controlling behavior. So you're in church and dealing with this.
Mhm.
Did you attend the church? Did your mom too? I don't remember for
I did
sure.
not. No, I was actually a youth leader at another church.
Oh, okay.
And that was fine. I kind of just wrapped, my weekends and weeks around
Yeah.
kids and all that when after if I wasn't like working, I was a nanny. So I was a
Right.
nanny for like some big families,
Yes.
like the state treasurer and all the different
That's
things.
awesome. Yeah.
And so that was awesome. But so I had some really, really great families. And that's another reason why I was like, I'm always surrounded by so many kids, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was really good for me because I could saw different, just loving
Yeah.
households. And I think that's what kind of got me through because, yeah, I mean, I was judged in every direction if I went over to my
Right.
house.
Well, I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure if you had attended the church, because I didn't. So were you in a different kind of church, just like an evangelical church
Yeah, it
where,
was like it was
yeah,
just something, it wasn't even Baptist. It was just more of like a non-denominational.
right. Okay.
And
So I
so
wasn't sure
that
if you
would
could, yeah. So I didn't
it
know if you
wasn't
could see the
strict.
difference.
I
Yeah.
totally saw the
Okay.
difference for sure, but I did go visit their church. Um,
Okay.
and it was exactly what you would think it would be.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I was curious about. And what about your mom? Like, was she involved in that? And how did I'm thinking they didn't grow up in any kind of church environment. Not if I don't think so, right? No.
They did. They grew
Oh, they
actually
did.
they went to a Baptist church.
Oh, okay.
Huge Baptist church. But it was one of those that like the ladies whisper behind closed doors kind of
Yeah.
thing and
Yeah.
everybody is just shiny and happy, and
Of
everyone's got it
course.
together. And I
Yes.
have to say if man, the more I've noticed, the people that have it all together
Yeah.
are the most scariest kind of people that
Yeah.
act like they got it all. They got all the answers.
Right. And
Learned that. I
it's
learned
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because it to me, I always called it the Sunday smile. You walk in, how are you doing? Because I didn't have my husband going to church with me. And so because I became a Christian during our marriage, and so he just wasn't gonna, well, he's a narcissist, so he's not gonna,
Right.
if I said black, he said white. So he wasn't gonna, buy into that. And to me, it kind of broke my heart. I was made to feel like I was less than. And I wanted to, like, as I started to talk to people, I'm like, oh, they have real stories of like real struggles. And I'm like, why don't we talk about these? This is where I became a problem because I like to ask questions and like, why aren't we
Yes.
talking about this? Why aren't we like
Yes.
telling each other so that we can help each other? It's like in the
Mhm.
Bible, the Titus 2 woman, the older women teaching the younger women. Why aren't we talking about
Why
this?
aren't we talking about it? No, yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think a lot of people have a stigma about it. Just like, oh, like my problems are just, I'm going to keep them inside and
Yeah.
I'm going to internalize it, but it's fine. I don't need counseling. I don't need help. And it's like,
Yeah.
girl, run to the nearest counselor. Like, please, please, like find this podcast, please, just,
So many things. Yeah,
there's
so
so
many
many
things.
things that we need help just to deciphering, just like what is real, what is healthy, what is
Yes.
good for our hearts, what's good for our lives, who are the people we should have in our lives.
Yes.
You know,
I love
it,
that
it
because understanding what's healthy and like what does a boundary look like, and when people like tell you you shouldn't have a boundary, what does it look like when they're benefiting from you not having boundaries? Because when I was in multiple churches, and a lot of them were very high control, not like telling me what to wear, whatever. But I do remember thinking I was dressed fine one day, going like, your t-shirt is too tight. And
oh yeah.
I was like, but it's not like you,
Okay.
but you can't see my cleavage. But this was like, I want to say like, I don't even know, like say early 2000s when we were all wearing like kind of tighter t-shirts or whatever.
Oh
And,
yeah.
but I was like, but it was like a high V. You couldn't see my cleavage. I don't know. I didn't,
Girl, let me just say, if the skinny low-rise jeans comes back in style, you and I are gonna like,
oh my
I
gosh,
don't know, we are going somewhere and we are gonna
I'm gonna go
change
protest
that.
somewhere. Yeah.
We're gonna protest somewhere. That is not coming back.
No,
Those
God,
days are
no.
over.
No, no. The only
Yeah.
person who could wear those things was like Britney Spears. I mean, when she,
Supermodels.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like you
Yes.
had to be a size zero. No, no,
Yeah.
those are not coming back. And
Mhm.
so I just remembered those kinds of things. Like, so it's like when I think back, I'm like, oh, that was like high control. Okay, here's another way to shame me. It's like, okay, well,
Yep.
I don't understand. I'm not showing my cleavage. I don't get it. Oh, but your shirt is too tight. And
Yep.
so, and so you might cause men to stumble. Those kinds, it's like, this is not my responsibility. I can't
Yeah.
help it.
Hold
I
on.
can't help it if you look at my
I
boobs.
yeah, no, same. I had a whole closet in the hood of my car, in the trunk of my car,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I always was told what I was wearing wasn't right.
Yeah.
And I would also be shamed for like my hair length.
Oh, okay.
It was more boyish than, or it wasn't as like loving and like female
Oh,
loveliness of a female,
oh,
because it wasn't long enough.
okay.
Yeah,
And it
there
had to
was
be
so
curled
many
or
things.
something? Did it have to be
They
curled or
liked
something?
curls.
Oh,
I
okay.
liked a straightener, but then I gave him a straightener and everything was fine. The thing is that with the rules with my family,
Yeah.
they they're like they're set in stone until someone like does something different, and then I feel like the leader of the home is like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then like
Yeah.
there's no like actual rules like set in place. Like he doesn't keep them there.
Right.
Like the boys couldn't wear shorts for the longest time. They were a sin. They were ungodly. They were
Yeah.
not gentlemanlike. No one wore shorts. And then one of the girls married someone who wore shorts.
Yeah.
And then all the boys were allowed to.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it's like, where does that logic come from?
Well, I want to talk about that. I was going to say, this is what it is. When you have someone who is, say, a narcissist, right? That
Yeah.
the rules get made up as they go along
Oh,
because
yeah.
you are not going to meet, like, the goalpost keeps getting moved. And so when you think you're doing the right thing, and also when you're in even high control religion, high control situations where you're like, okay, I'm doing the right thing, like me with the t-shirts, like I'm doing the right thing. I don't know why that came to me today, but anyway, it did. But I'm doing the right thing, not showing my cleavage. It's only for my husband. And then still being like, here, let me move the goalpost to
Moving it,
make you
removing it.
feel,
Yep.
yeah. And so you
You're
can
just
never
never going to
catch
be
up.
enough.
It's
Yeah,
never going
you're
to be
never
enough.
going to be enough.
No. And the thing about the, like, the color of clothing and stuff like that was cracking me up. I'm like,
There's so
really?
many other things to worry about in this world.
Yeah.
And yeah, the color yellow, the color
Yeah.
like,
Look
but
at
red
look
was
at you. You're wearing kind of
chaotic.
yellowish and black today.
I
Oh
know.
my
Watch
gosh.
out. Watch out.
Whoa, forget it.
Yeah. You could wear like mustard yellow, but you could,
Seriously.
yeah, you could wear mustard yellow because that was like pretty on skin tones. But if I wore like bright yellow, then that was considered that I wanted attention from the boys, from the men.
Oh, interesting. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, bright yellow is such a cheery color. It's
I,
like, and
there was so, and then if you wore black, I mean, you forget it.
yeah, forget it.
Forget it. Forget it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of different things like that that I was like, my brain, I don't even care about these
Right.
rules, you know? And maybe that's why I'm so laid back now. It's because
Yes.
I had
Yeah.
so many rules growing up.
That's it.
I
And
always
that's how
tell
I
Dax,
feel too. Yeah, that's
yeah,
how I
I
think of.
tell,
Yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. No, I tell Daxon that I'm the yes mom. Like if you want to do something,
Yeah.
then let's talk about it. Come to me, let's talk about it. It
Right.
might be modified to make sure it's safe, make sure we can do
Right.
it, but it's not going to be a no. Because I heard no so many times growing up.
Right.
It's all I heard. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I don't like the word no.
Right.
That's not-
I'm telling you.
my husband loves that.
Yeah,
He
I'm
like says
sure.
no or something, and I'm like, I don't like that. He's like, well, that's part of being an adult, Amy. That's you. It's okay. You're gonna have to accept
I
that word.
know. I know. I'm so, like, there's so many things I'm just like, it's just not going to matter, like with my granddaughter, and like, who cares? Because I had such a need to fit in. I did that for so many years, being a Christian for 27 years, like I did that for so long. Just my deep desire was to fit in. It's why I stayed in my marriage as long as I did and stayed in a church as long as I did, because I wanted to fit in. That was my deep need. And
Yeah.
so I
My deep
I
need
heal.
was needing to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes
Hmm.
sense. Well, and I think that they ran with it, saying like,
Oh, yeah.
you're acting crazy. And it's like, that's God. It
I
just
mean, at
it
one
just
point, I was like, fine, give me the bread. I'm going to feed the giraffe from my mouth. Sure, I'm going to jump on a pig. Sure,
right.
I'm going to do these things because I'm crazy. And I
Exactly.
just like took it and ran with it. I was
Yeah.
like, let's do it. Let's jump out of a plane. Let's do all the things. That's fine. Yeah,
My favorite thing was that Dolly Parton, that
oh,
she singled you out, and I was like, yay. Like, she saw you, and like, to be seen by Dolly, my God, but she
so
saw
sweet.
you, right? She saw you.
Yeah. Oh, she gave me the biggest hug ever. And in that moment, I was like, wow, like no one else got a hug.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder what she noticed that, like,
Right.
why me? But yeah,
Maybe
no,
what she had said,
super
because she
sweetheart.
said, "Oh, you're feisty like I am," or
Yes,
whatever, right? And so maybe
yeah,
she had seen you on TV
yeah,
or
she's
whatever, but
definitely seen me, but just the fact that like she remembered me and the fact that I
I
was being seen
know.
in that moment, I was
Yeah.
like, oh hi, like wow. Yeah,
That's
she's super,
amazing.
super
Yeah.
sweet for sure. Yeah. But I
It's
wasn't, all of that was good and it was fun. There was a lot of good moments on the show.
yeah.
But I think the biggest moment of that entire, even the whole entire book
Yeah.
is really uh when I
Yes.
confronted Josh.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to bring it up unless you
Oh,
want
it's
to.
fine.
I Okay, yeah,
Let's
because
go.
I think it's really, I thought that was like so brave of you, and the whole thing to me was so disturbing. The way that, if we believe it, that he, kept asking for help. He had some issues. I always wonder if something happened to him, but who knows. And
Oh, same. That's why I left that open-ended in my book.
yeah, I thought that was really curious because we see, right, we know, right, abuse just
We
like,
know.
we
We know.
breathe
And you
it.
don't become a monster overnight for no reason at all.
No.
Things have to transpire for that to happen.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, what kind of trauma are you hiding and dealing with, and what have you not spoken about, and
Yeah.
what has happened to you, and that is very hurtful and very just
Yeah.
like scary. Like I said, that entire household was like a train station. There was people
Yeah.
coming in and out all the time. And so you never know,
It just,
unfortunately.
yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, like, I just even thought, like, what about your grandfather? I mean, just things like that,
Same,
right? I mean, all
same.
those things. So we don't know. And to me, I don't know where his head is,
Mhm.
because will he ever say the truth? Because if you're still stuck in that high control, or you are supposed to be a certain way, will he ever even admit something, like admit what happened or anything like that, right? And
Probably.
maybe if something did happen to him, we don't know. But that just was my thinking. So tell me, it was like, I wanted more of your story about when you confronted him. So here you are. Tell me more. I wanted really to know how you felt, because you must have felt so like deceived and just so sad that your like best friend growing up was that had happened.
Yeah, as everyone knows, there's all kinds of scandals that's happened for my
Okay.
family. The last one was, well, actually, that's not even the last one. It was like the
Okay.
first one, the big first one
Mm,
that happened.
okay.
Um, and I haven't seen him since. Ever since I
Okay.
walked out of that house, I've not been back. But yeah, I so deceived. I literally felt like I was living in the Truman Show, the movie The
Yeah.
Truman Show,
Yeah.
just like what is my reality? What is even real? It felt so fake, so plastic.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting any answers. Everybody was telling me all different kinds of stuff and not to worry about it. Don't talk to anyone about it. It's gonna blow
Right.
over. It's not a big deal. Don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah. Of
I know, don't be dramatic,
course.
all the things. And I kept asking about like the girls and if they're okay. And like,
Yeah.
no one was giving me answers. Nobody. And one day I just was like, that's it. I'm going over there and I'm just going to point blank ask him myself.
Yeah.
No one's going to stop me. Who's going to stop me? So I
Right.
went over there. And a lot of the kids were in the house and they, hi Amy, they come running out and all the things, and I hugged the girls and all the things, and then I confronted him head on. And something inside of me just like it didn't snap, but I just didn't care any longer what
Right.
they thought. I really
Yeah.
could have cared less on,
Right.
how they perceived me, or, what I looked like to them, or if I was a
Right.
good Christian enough. Because I
Yeah.
feel like being a good Christian, you stand up for truth and
Yes.
light exposes the darkness.
Yes.
And
Very
that's
much.
exactly what I did that day.
That's amazing. I'm so proud of you for doing that, because I
You.
mean, look, people who are abusive are not going to answer why. That's futile. But I'm so glad that you approached him and, you know, made him look at you while you asked him, like, why did this happen? Why did you do what you did? And I wondered about him. I wondered about the girls. It's like, did they get the help that they needed? Um, you know,
I will be honest with you. Unfortunately, the IBLP teaches that any
right.
kind of outside therapy at all
Yes.
is considered ungodly and unsafe. So I do
Yeah.
believe one of them has, maybe two of them has.
Oh,
I don't believe they all have.
that's really heartbreaking.
It is
That's really,
very,
yeah.
I honestly believe a lot of the IBLP women in general, including my family members, they just suppress their emotions and they
Yeah.
act like they don't exist. And
Right.
one day, man, that's all going to come to the surface.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to
And
boil over.
I mean, you confronting him and not worrying about how you were acting or whatever, but it was a normal way to
It was
approach
a
him.
normal response. It
It's a
was
normal
anger.
response. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was definitely. I honestly say it was like righteous anger because this is
That's
the stuff
exactly it.
that Jesus would absolutely hate. And he
Yeah.
says in the Bible he hates this type of behavior.
Yeah.
And so like just standing up for like the truth, like standing up for truth and like
Yes.
and cross. and what matters is what I'm gonna use my voice for. And
Yeah.
man, they didn't like it. They
No,
did.
of course not. No, he would have flipped a table for that one for
He
sure.
would have. He would have. Yeah, he would have destroyed the area for sure.
Yes. Well, as we're wrapping up, I want to know, like, what are you doing next or what is going on right now?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's several things. One, I would love to, I'm starting to write again.
That's
I feel
awesome.
like I've already told my story of why I'm a holy disruptor and the things that's gone on. But now I want to help other people and kind of do like a self-help book.
Oh my gosh, awesome.
So I would love to maybe do something like that. And then my husband and I are really thinking about doing a podcast.
That's exciting.
So we'll see what happens with that for sure. But I just know that God opens doors for people that are going to speak the truth.
Yes.
And so I admire you for the
Oh,
work that
thank
you've done and
you.
using your story not to like destroy you and to
Hmm.
hold you back, but someone who's taken their story and has just like rocket you forward, right? Like I can tell there is such a light about you
Thank you.
and that you're being used for God's glory. And
Yeah.
that's incredible. You're helping a lot of people. A lot of women are looking up to you. So I love
It's such a blessing to be able to do this and to talk to people who even I started taking screenshots of people saying like, oh my God, I'm so glad I found your page because that's all I needed to hear. Because on the days where I'm like, am I talking into the void? Does anybody hear me?
same.
There's people who are saying, I see you and thank God I found you. And that's what I wanted because I wanted to die once I started unraveling all the abuse. I wanted to die and I didn't want anyone else to feel alone like that. I just didn't want that. And I know you feel the same way. Our stories don't have to, like we said at the beginning, you doesn't have to be exactly the same, but I know people are going to find bits and pieces and it's going to resonate with them.
Well, I just appreciate this. Thank you for reading my book. Thank
Of
you for loving
course.
it. Thank you for the
I
review
did.
of it. And I
I
hope
was
it
worried I wouldn't
helps
remember things, but
people.
I remembered so many stories as we
You
were talking.
did. Yes, you did. I know it's one of those books that you have to like buckle up for.
For sure. Yes. I
It's
mean,
a
but I devoured it. I thought it was so interesting. I love that kind of stuff. I love the detail of it, that just different things, like the color of the clothing. I mean, that those kinds of things. And just because I think we don't realize what's going on behind closed doors. And for you to have to keep closing your trunk and beg for the nickname to not be used and things like that. It's like we don't know what's going on, and I think we were saying, and we maybe because we were talking about so many things, like when people are doing those kinds of things, like that's when you start to ask yourself, like whoever's listening, you start to ask yourself, is this what I want from my life? Do I want to be in a relationship with people or in a church setting or in any kind of setting where people are demanding of me to be a certain way and that's not who I am? Like color of clothing, like hair length
yeah.
and all that. If it's not if it's not working, ask yourself, is this what you want to keep doing? So,
Ask yourself if you want to keep walking on eggshells the rest of your life.
exactly. And no, we don't.
No, no. Run the opposite direction.
That's right. Run for
For
your life.
sure. Run for your life.
Amy,
Exactly.
I'm so glad you were here. Thank you so much for sharing your
I've enjoyed
story.
it. I've enjoyed it so much. I feel like you and I could talk all day
Oh yeah,
long.
for sure. We have a million more stories. I know we condensed it. We have a million more stories we could share. I mean, it's just thank you so much. We'll keep in touch for sure. And
Love it.
everybody, if anything resonated with you today, please leave a podcast review on Apple and Spotify. And of course, go to social media, find me and Amy, and leave us some comments, nice comments, please, about how much you loved us. So that way we can keep doing this work. Amy, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you, Laura.